We've been here before, fighting the problems that fight back. But we can shift the status quo, because we see opportunities where others see obstacles. We're change makers and problem solvers, uniting over 1 million minds to address complex issues facing communities around the world, including yours. With passion and purpose, we've led the efforts to put an end to polio. Now eradication isn't just possible, it's plausible. Every day we're investing in a new generation of leaders so we can continue to provide access to clean water, tackle global health concerns, support education, and build the foundations of peace across borders. We're working together as partners and professionals while making friendships that last a lifetime. We're Rotary, and there's no limit to what we can do.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Rotary Club of Tulsa. It's an exciting day for us here at the club to see the democratic process in action, and we can't wait to get started. So I will not babble and move right along to tell you that our invocation will be given by our past president, Rhonda Renz, our song and pledge by Jerry Murator, and then our visitor introductions by Michael Willis. So Rhonda, if you will come up and lead us in prayer.
Good morning. Please bow your heads with me today. Heavenly Father, our hearts are full today with all of the blessings that you've given us. Today, we pray for our leaders, Mayor Dewey Bartlett and City Councilman G.T. Bynum, that they would lean upon you for the guidance and wisdom needed to lead our community. I pray for your protection for each person here today, and am grateful for the food before us and the many hands that prepared it. Amen.
Please join me for our singing of our national anthem, and it'll be followed by our Pledge of Allegiance. Oh, stand you see by the dawn's early light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, whose stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. O'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly free, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good afternoon. I want to thank everyone for coming today. Fortunately or unfortunately, we're just going to do the abbreviated introduction of our guests and our visiting Rotarians today. It's a really good problem for us to have that we have almost more sheets full of guests than we actually had available. So I'm going to make everyone a deal who's a visitor. If you will please come back and visit us again, or even better yet, look at joining our club, then we will read your name along with your host. So come back at a future date, and when we're not quite so packed, we'll read everyone's name. So if you're a guest or a host of one of the guests today, would you please stand? And then if you are a visiting Rotarian from another club, will you stand and we'll greet you with a hi Rotarian. So if you'll please stand. We have no visiting Rotarians. So thank you all very much again, and come back and visit us again soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Great to have all of you guests. A quick bit of Rotary business, and then we'll get to the forum. I always like to remind our members of our upcoming programs, and of course, all you guests are invited back, just like Michael said. Next week, we'll have Chief James Floyd from the Muskogee Creek Nation, who will, among other things, tell us about the huge new Margaritaville and all the news, et cetera, out there. That should be exciting. The following week, we will have Pierce Norton, who is the CEO of One Gas, one of our largest companies here in Tulsa, and it's good that we're able to check in with someone like that, and we're excited to have Pierce. On June 22nd, I've told you about him before, Robert Condavis Undiano, who is among other things, a professor at OU and the host of a TV forum called Current Conversations, where he interviews people making a difference in the world, such as scientists, educators, humanists, writers, and artists. Among other things, he is the person who our Rotaract president, Brooke Estevez, calls her mentor, and she will be our Rotarian of the day. So that should be an exciting program. And then the last program of the Rotary year will be what they call the Presidential Roast. So if nothing else, come to that. Committee meetings today, a reminder, our Long Range Planning Committee will meet right after this meeting in room 233. So if you're on that committee, please be sure to be there. And now it is my pleasure to introduce the moderator of our Mayoral Forum, Terry Hood. As you probably all know, Terry co-anchors the News on 6 at 6 o'clock and 10 o'clock every weeknight along with Scott Thompson. She joined the News on 6 team in 1987 and is an Oklahoman by choice. She was born in Venezuela and grew up in Colorado. She graduated from a small high school in western Colorado and earned a Bachelor of Science in Broadcast Journalism from the University of Colorado. Terry's writing and reporting have earned her a number of awards from professional organizations and associations, including an Emmy Award in 2008 for her coverage of the December 2007 ice storm. Terry's concern for children and interest in parenting issues are evidenced in all of her community involvement. She volunteers for many different organizations in her spare time and is an avid supporter of, among other things, the Community Food Bank of Eastern Oklahoma, helping to raise community awareness and thousands of dollars for the Food for Kids backpack program. Terry is also known for her in-depth interviews with many prominent Oklahomans and those with Oklahoma ties, such as Garth Brooks, Reba McEntire, Ryan Tedder, Kristen Chenoweth, Dr. Tom Coburn, Scott Pelley, and General Norman Schwarzkopf. She has told the stories of Oklahomans and others who have shaped our lives, made our history, and we're very grateful for her hard work and her talent. Terry, we're so glad to have you here. Without further ado, please welcome our moderator, Terry Hood.
Thank you so much for that nice introduction, Jeff. It sounds sort of like I wrote it myself. I don't know. I am very, very pleased to be here and also to see such a great turnout. I know that we've all been looking forward to we obviously know these candidates very well, but a big election, a big decision for the city of Tulsa, so it's wonderful to see so many people coming up to learn everything they can about these candidates. And after my long introduction, this is rather embarrassing, but I'm just going to give short introductions for these candidates because we know them, we love them, and we'll just introduce them up on stage. First of all, of course, Mayor Dewey Bartlett going for his third term in office. Big round of applause. The mayor, of course, was a long-time and is a long-time Tulsa oilman. He's served on the city council before becoming mayor, and we all appreciate all the effort and hard work he's done for our city. And also on the stage tonight, City Councilor G.T. Bynum. He has served District 9 for 8 years and served it very well on the Tulsa City Council. Another round of applause. GT is a Tulsa businessman as well with his own company, Capital Venture, and both very successful men. Come on up, gentlemen. And while you're making your way to the stage, I'll tell everyone a little bit about how this forum is going to work. We had a coin toss just a few minutes ago, and Councilor Bynum won the coin toss. So he's going to begin the opening statements. And we're going to give, each candidate is going to give a 3-minute opening statement, and we have questions that have been submitted in advance by club members, and so I've got a list of these questions with me right now. Each candidate is going to have 90 seconds to answer each question. I'm going to alternate who starts the question, so each one has 90 seconds, and then the person who started will get to respond. I think it's a 60-second response. Yes, that's correct, a 60-second response. Somebody else is going to be the timekeeper here, so I won't have to keep track of that. But candidates, gentlemen, when you see the flag, if you see a yellow flag, it means you have 10 seconds left, and the flags will be right there. We go. The green flag, you're all good. Yellow, 10 seconds, and red, then we would ask you to wrap up your comments. So, without further ado, we shall begin, and Councilor Bynum, if you could begin with your opening statement.
Sure. I want to thank the Rotary Club of Tulsa for hosting this. I think of all the debates we do, this will probably be the largest audience that we have at any of them. I want to thank the mayor for agreeing to participate in this today. I also want to introduce my wife, Susan, who's and my lifelong hero that a lot of you already know, my granddad, Mayor Bob LaFortune. I think it's important before we start the debate today to make something very clear, because we're in a year of really, I think, overheated political rhetoric. I think a lot of people make the assumption that if two people are running against each other, that they have to dislike each other. And I want to be very clear. I like the mayor. I've known him almost my entire life. I think he is a good man. I'm running for mayor not because I dislike Mayor Bartlett, but because I think there's more that we can be doing, and I think it's just time for a change. If you look at the population of Tulsa in the year 1900, we had 1,400 people here. And in 2000, the census was 395,000. So in a 100-year period of time, you had people build up an entire city. And by the way, it's not, a lot of people say, well, it's because you discovered oil there. Well, they discovered oil in other cities around Oklahoma that did not grow like Tulsa did. So what made us different? What made us special? Well, I think you'll see that when you leave here today and you walk outside, turn around and look at downtown Tulsa and ask yourself, why in 1920 did someone build skyscrapers in downtown Tulsa? Was it because there was a shortage of available land in Tulsa at the time? No. It was because the people that were building our city at that time felt that world-class cities have skyscrapers, and they decided to build them. And that's the mindset that Tulsans had in the 20th century when they built this city up. They wanted it to be nationally competitive and one of the best cities in the whole world. A lot of people in this room did that work to make it the kind of place that when Susan and I decided we wanted to have kids, there was nowhere else in the world that we wanted them to grow up. My concern is that we had that mindset for a century, and then I feel like we started to coast. I feel like we started to accept and get comfortable with being in second place to Oklahoma City. I feel like we went from competing with cities like Austin and Denver and Chicago to competing with cities like Broken Arrow and Owasso and Oklahoma City, cities that are our neighbors who we should be working with to compete at a national level. And so I'm running for mayor because I think we have to reorient our sights to being nationally competitive. Again, that's where the economic growth in the 21st century is. And I'm looking forward to today's debate and the opportunity to explain how I think we can get there in the next 4 years. Thank you again.
And Mayor Bartlett.
Well, thank you all very much for being here. I'd like to introduce to you the First Lady of the City of Tulsa, Victoria Bartlett. And although sitting next to her is Father O'Brien, the representative of God, I don't want to mention that part. So. Thank you all very much for being here. I'm running for re-election because I feel that continuity of leadership is extremely important to emphasize the success that we've already enjoyed, but to solidify the success that we're going to enjoy in the future. When you look at what we've accomplished over the past several years, we've seen growth. We've seen very true, verified growth. Our population this year has now surpassed the 400,000 mark for the very first time. That's success. When I took the oath of office the very first time, I said I was going to be the job-gettingest mayor that this city's ever seen. Success. We've achieved that goal, but we're not quitting. That's the important distinction. I'm not quitting. We've focused on dedicated funding for our police and fire departments roughly 3 years ago. And I said that was a very important goal when I took the oath of office the second time. We've achieved that goal within the parameters that I stated then, that it would always be a #1 priority, police and fire, and we would do it without a tax increase. I stated that we would live within our means. We have accomplished that goal without a tax increase. The successes we've had have been mirrored by the community recently. Certainly the success that we saw with the Vision Tulsa vote, 75% approval rating. The success that we've had as a community has been verified time and time again with the $1 billion of money that has been expended and is being expended in downtown Tulsa today. New hotels, something we haven't seen in decades. The $1 billion of monies that are being expended outside of the city, outside of the downtown area within the city, is a underscored statement of the future of the investment community that they have seen positive results. And they're very, very positive, and they're supportive of what the future is going to be. We're going to hear a lot about the past, the present, the future, but we look forward to that. I can assure you that this is one opportunity that I will not miss to emphasize our successes, but especially emphasize using those successes as a springboard to the future. Thank you very much.
Gentlemen, thank you both. And now we begin with our first question. Once again, each candidate will have 90 seconds to answer the question. And then after each one is answered, the question, the first candidate will get a 60-second comment, rebuttal, however they choose to use those 60 seconds. And so we're going to begin with you, G.T. Bynum. Where do you see the city of Tulsa 4 years from now if you are elected mayor?
If I'm elected mayor, I think the two biggest things that stand in our way to being nationally competitive right now are that we're not viewed as the best place in Oklahoma to get an education. The city government has taken a real pass on any sort of true leadership role when it comes to education for decades. That's something that has to change. It was okay to say it was somebody else's problem when we were regarded as the best place in the state to get an education. But today, our schools need an advocate in the mayor's office, and they need a city government that partners with our schools in a proactive way to put kids in the best chance to be successful. The other thing that I think that we will work on that will change 4 years from now to make us more nationally competitive is that we have to modernize the working relationship between the city and the county. That relationship was fine in 1900 when it was created, when Tulsa County was a rural county, when Tulsa and Broken Arrow had about 2,000 people between the two of them and were separated by 15 miles of farmland, and you had the county providing all these overall services. Well, in the last 100 years, but all these cities grow up and start providing similar services. That's what leads to all the fighting that you've heard about in recent decades. That didn't start with our current mayor. That's been going on for a long time. And it's not because you have bad people in those jobs. It's because they're working in an outdated system. So we've got to go through and look at every function that the city and the county provide and decide in the 21st century, who does it make sense to be providing that so that we can be focused on working together and competing nationally together again.
And Mayor Bartlett, where would you see the city of Tulsa 4 years from now?
Well, for one thing, I think our educational system, insofar as our relationship is something that we're accomplishing, we as city government. We see an opportunity to tie together our public school system and our aviation and aerospace sector of our economy. We started that a year ago, been working on it for 2 years. That's going to give students, when they graduate from high school, an opportunity to not only experience high school curriculum, but also have a career choice path. Too often we have let them fall through the cracks, and that is simply our responsibility is not to allow that to happen. The relationship that we've had with the city and county is good, but we also have a strong mayor form of government that the voters of Tulsa decided this is what we want, is a person that has the ability to stand up, be counted, and do something in favor of the city of Tulsa. And I've done that. When the city and the county have a disagreement, we look for common goals, we look for common ground, but if we have an opportunity to have to say no, we will do so respectfully, but we will continue to look for ways to get beyond that, and we are accomplishing that. We have very, very good relationship throughout the county with each and every one of our cities, something that when I became mayor did not exist. We've accomplished that.
And Councilman Bynum, you have 60 seconds to respond.
I would just say, if anyone has read the newspaper in the last 4 years and thinks the relationship with the city and the county is great, then you should not vote for me. I think we have a lot of work that we have to do there, and I can tell you that my colleagues at the county think that we have a lot of work to do there. But I want to be very clear on my answer here, because you need to have a mayor that gives you specific goals that they're working toward. The next 4 years, we need to be on path to being regarded again as the best place in Oklahoma for a kid to get an education. As long as we are not regarded that way, we have a hindrance to our growth that we shouldn't be accepting. The other thing is that in 4 years from now, we will have a modernized form of local government that serves to provide great customer service, not serving as a distraction from our city and our county leaders working together for us to compete at a national level and generate greater economic growth here in Tulsa.
And Mayor Bartlett, the next question you will begin. During the last few years, Oklahoma City has outpaced Tulsa in job growth by as much as a 2-to-1 margin. What tangible steps do you propose to take in order to make Tulsa more competitive and further increase jobs in our city?
Well, many of those steps are being taken already. I referenced a few minutes ago the relationship that we have with an aerospace academy. That, to me, was a very, very smart first step because we are the only city in Oklahoma, and much less the region of this country, that provides an opportunity for a high school student to make a career choice on whatever he or she wants to do once they graduate from high school, because they will be exposed to something that they like, not what we dictate, but what they would like to do. Whether it's a career in aviation, they want to be a pilot, want to understand mechanics, whatever that might be, we are giving them that choice. And there's 20 students that just graduated for the first time with a glint in their eye because they know what career choice that they have now been provided. No other city in Oklahoma, no other city in this part of the country is providing that, and it's very, very successful. We've also established relationships throughout the world. Those are coming home to bear right now. Mitsubishi, for example, from Japan, they're making a $350 million investment at Pryor, Oklahoma now that's going to have a great benefit upon Tulsa. They also have a facility at our Tulsa airport, and it's growing, and growing. It's that type of rapport and relationship that we have. When you have an experienced business person that understands the significance of relationships, that works well for the community.
And Councilman Bynum.
Yeah, I was really, I think, awakened to the issues that we face, and particularly the recipe for Oklahoma City's success when a few of us went and met with Mayor Cornett. And we went to meet with him to talk about maps and how they had done that so well and how we could replicate that when we were starting the vision process. But I mentioned, just as a passing aside, you know, Mayor, it's a shame that Tulsa and Oklahoma City are always competing with each other. And he very quickly corrected me and said, Tulsa may be competing with us, but we're not competing with Tulsa. We're competing with Dallas. We're competing with Kansas City. And that was a light bulb moment for me, because it helped me realize that the cities that are growing, in Oklahoma City, I think it's important everyone hear that statistic that was in the question. In the last 7 years, Oklahoma City has outpaced us in job growth more than 2-to-1. So what are they doing that's making them so successful? Well, I think they're focused on being nationally competitive. And in Tulsa, and I'm going to keep hammering away at this because I think it's so important everyone understand the biggest things, the greatest things we can be doing to be nationally competitive again are to make Tulsa more competitive from an educational opportunity standpoint and to do away, and when I talk about this relationship with the county, it's not just because I want things to be all kumbaya in the local government. The reason we have to change that is because every week that the mayor is fighting with the county commissioners over the jail contract is a week that we are not focused as a community on competing at a national level, bringing jobs here, bringing companies here. Thank you.
And Mayor Bartlett, you have 60 seconds to respond.
Well, the good news is we are doing very, very well in Tulsa. We have, for example, presently, right now, even though the oil and natural gas sector is not doing well, Oklahoma's having a difficult time. Oklahoma City is having a very, very difficult time, unfortunately. Because we have diversified, because we do have the quality of life issues that companies like to see. We now have 25 new startups in Tulsa in the oil and gas business, employing hundreds of people, and they're backed by almost $5 billion with a B of equity money. That's positive. That's job growth. And that's the truth, and that's the reality. The opportunity that we have in job growth is because we have someone that is helping steer the ship, that has experience in their background of creating opportunity, creating jobs, and understands the significance of relationships. Whatever problem we're having with the county is because, in my view, we're standing up for the citizens of Tulsa that are also taxpayers, that are also paying the bills, but are doing it, in my view, too much.
And Councilman Bynum, you begin this round. How will you leverage the excitement surrounding the gathering place to better the city of Tulsa?
No, it is very exciting, and I'll tell you, a few years ago, Councilor Phil Lakin and I went around and met with the CEOs of a lot of the largest companies here in Tulsa. And we asked them, what is it that we can do to help your company stay here in Tulsa and grow? And honestly, I was expecting them to say, well, we want you to build us a building and lease it to us for $1 a year, or give us a tax break or something like that. To a T, what they said was, you have to make this the kind of place that some kid that's graduating, whether they're graduating from OU or OSU or TU or UT Austin or Northwestern or Stanford or Princeton, wants to come here to Tulsa, Oklahoma to work for our company instead of going to some other city to work for one of our competitors. And if you can help make this that kind of place, we'll take care of the economic development, but you got to help us out there. And that's why vision passing was so important. That's why I came here, if you all remember, when I came here to speak with you the week before that vote and asked you to support it. Because having those types of things, whether it's the largest public park gift in the history of the United States, or having 2 new lakes being built there, or having better public transit installed over the next 5 years, all of these things that are going to improve the quality of life here in Tulsa make us more competitive and allow our businesses to recruit and retain better employees than they can without those things at their disposal. So the gathering place is, we're very lucky to have a philanthropic community that will contribute something like that. And I think the citizens of Tulsa really stepped up with vision and said, we appreciate what the philanthropic community did, but we want to pull our own weight here as well, and by making those investments through vision. So
all right.
I appreciate the support of everyone that supported vision. And again, I think that's what we've got to do moving forward, is keep our priorities focused on what makes us nationally competitive, what allows people to, did I get flagged?
Yes, you get
flagged.
You know what, I think we probably need to hold it up a little bit longer, because if they're not looking right
That
away.
dude's sitting right there, so I can't see him.
You don't want us to have to get out the hook, you know. Oh, no.
I could go on. All right, thank you.
Mayor Bartlett, how about you, leveraging the excitement that surrounds the gathering place for Tulsa?
Well, it's going to be our new Central Park. That's exactly what it is. It's Central Park to Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I don't think any of us really realize the significance of what it's going to provide us. But George Kaiser and his family foundation and all the people that he tapped their shoulder, for them to have that type of a commitment to our community underscores their commitment in the future of Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'm very proud that I've had the opportunity to lead the city in those efforts to make Tulsa now a safe place, a place for economic development where it is truly occurring, not just a concept, but where the business community is coming to life. We've seen time and time again fits and starts of trying to do things, but we've accomplished many of those already. How many times have we talked in the past about all these things that we might want to accomplish and haven't accomplished? Well, now we've accomplished them. Water in a river, decades and decades, living within our means, running government like a business. We've accomplished that. We're continuing to accomplish that. It's that type of attitude and outlook where we don't have a regulatory environment that hammers somebody down simply because they want to make an investment in the community. If we don't relish that opportunity, wave the flag for it, then we will be missing a boat. We must attract economic development and business to Tulsa. Thank you.
And your 60-second response.
Oh, I think I used about 30 seconds. No, I think this is something that we are in broad agreement on. I don't think you're going to find a whole lot of lack of enthusiasm up here for the gathering place. It is going to be a tremendous asset for us. And the river, I mean, that's something, again, I have on my desk at City Hall the report, the plan that was given to my grandfather when he was a rookie street commissioner in 1964 that is essentially what we just passed in April. So people talked about that for 52 years. But I'm thankful. I had the opportunity to chair the task force that led the effort, and it took us 3 years to put that proposal together. But doing that work, not giving up, setting high goals, and bringing the people together that we needed to accomplish great things, we made that happen. And I'm very thankful we did, and that's the kind of approach that I want to continue in the mayor's office over the next 4 years.
Let's switch from parks to schools. And Mayor Bartlett, you go first on this one. What steps would you take in the coming year, if you're reelected, to improve the performance of our Tulsa public schools?
Well, I think we have to be realistic and look at our public schools as a conduit for a career choice. How many times have we heard people say, you have to be a college graduate to be successful? When students hear that and know that they're not going to go to college, that they can't go, won't go, whatever reason doesn't matter, but college is not going to be in their future, what are they going to do? Do we simply show them the door, say thanks, see you later? Well, that's unfortunately what's happened. So Victoria and I embarked upon a process to find out how other states, other cities have accomplished what we are now accomplishing in Tulsa, and that is putting our public school sector together with our VOTEC system to provide people an opportunity of a career choice, where they actually learn how the algebra course, how that translates into aeronautical engineering, for example. We have been to several schools and seen the successes that they have had. Schools where a high school had a 61% graduation rate, but the academy that was inside that school that dealt with architecture and construction, its graduation rate for 400 students a year, 99%. So that's success. That is what we have implemented now in the city of Tulsa at Riverside Airport. That's what we're going to implement, if I get reelected, in every high school in our city. An academy on a specific need for a career choice that student would like to have.
And Councilor Bynum.
Yeah, I think this is a clear difference between the two of us for you to consider. I'm not giving up on a kid that wants to go to college. I am not going to settle for that type of outcome. I think we as a community ought to be doing everything we can to make sure that any kid in Tulsa that wants to go to college has the ability to do so. So when I talk about what we can do from the standpoint of partnering with our schools, there's a very top-line notion to this, which is we need to have a group that the mayor convenes that brings together the education stakeholders and leadership from throughout the community that shares ideas on how you can partner together better. And there's no telling what comes out. And so that's the mayor, that's your pre-K leadership in the community, that's your school superintendent, your school district superintendents, your school board presidents, and your higher ed leadership. They need to be sharing ideas about how they can help each other be successful. Right now, they're in too much of a silo. And I'll give you 2 examples of what we can do. First, since we're talking about higher ed. Right now in Oklahoma, there's a program called Oklahoma's Promise. If your family makes $50,000 or less, your kid can sign up their freshman year of high school, and if they keep a decent GPA, kind of GPA I would have gotten in high school, you know, not amazing grades, they get 4 years of college paid for. Right now, Tulsa County ranks dead last out of all 77 counties in the state of Oklahoma for registration for that program. We can do better than that, and I'll talk more in my rebuttal.
Okay, fine, thank you. Mayor Bartlett, your turn. Yes, exactly, Mayor Bartlett.
Thank you. We've already accomplished that. We've already put the people together and found out what we need to do. We put together the school superintendents of Union Public Schools, of Tulsa Public Schools, of Jenks Public Schools, the business community, the owners of the businesses. What do you need? We can't find enough trained and trainable people, they say. That is their common refrain. We see students that are out wandering around without graduating from high school. We see students that can't go to college, that have no ambition. We have the ability now to take care of those students, to allow them to learn specialty manufacturing. The city of Tulsa, we have the second highest number of people employed in the manufacturing industry in the country, second only to Houston, Texas. They can't find enough trained and trainable people, so we will have academies at our high schools to teach that skill that can be used elsewhere if they happen to move. That is the responsibility that we as a society have to those students. We can't expect everybody to go to college. That's naive.
Let's talk now about the infrastructure needs of the city. A large percent, of course, of the city's revenues is spent on police and fire. How do we balance those types of needs with the needs coming from our aging infrastructure? We all know about those streets, but of course there's also water and sewer lines, a lot of big expenses for the city. Councilor Bynum, you're first on this one.
Yeah, I would say of all the issues that I've worked on in my time on the city council, I haven't spent more time on anything other than streets. When I first came on the council in 2008, many of you will recall, we were facing the fact that we had not done much to maintain or improve our streets for decades. We're facing a $1.5 billion maintenance backlog. There was a group that the mayor at the time commissioned, Mayor Bartlett was the finance chair of that group. They recommended a tax increase in turning the Broken Arrow Expressway into a toll road. I'm fortunate that we had a city council in place that did not follow that recommendation. Instead, we brought forward the Fix Our Streets program that spent more over 5 years on streets than we'd spent in the previous 25 years combined. And then when that came up for renewal in 2013, I was the chairman, again, of that task force that led that initiative that is investing right now even more in streets than we had. So now we have, again, the largest streets improvement program in the history of the city. And we will have more to go. There's only so much you can do at one time in our streets before you just lock the whole city down, in case anyone hasn't noticed any construction underway right now. And so you don't want to do too much at a time. But we will have to keep, and there has to be a commitment to continue this program long into the future to catch up with that backlog that we've got citywide.
Mayor Bartlett, how do we balance what we need to spend, have to spend for police and fire with the other costs the city faces, particularly from our aging infrastructure?
Well, we manage it well. That's exactly how we do it. We manage it well. We ask the public what they feel is necessary from their viewpoint. That's why we implemented a citizen survey 6 years ago. Every 2 years we find out what the public really, the tax-paid public, what do they really want? What do they need? What are their needs? What do they see the problems are? And so we implement that in a budget that we prepare, that we give to the city council. But at the end of the day, what we do is we look at things and we manage it better. 3 years ago when I came up with the proposal that we not increase taxes, but we extend an existing tax, a portion of it had to be dedicated towards street maintenance. So now we have implemented a portion of that tax that is a permanent tax to maintain our street system, which we had not been doing for decades. Previous administrations missed it. Previous city councils missed it. But what we have done is we now have the ability to hire 2 additional crews, full-time crews, that all they do will be to maintain our street system, fill the cracks, permanently fix potholes, finally, put in street lighting that improves the safety of our community, also put in striping on a permanent basis that makes it more safe. All of these things will be funded and are going to be funded by that permanent maintenance portion of the extension of the sales taxes. That's smart management.
And Councilor Bynum, your 60-second response.
And Terry, to your question about how do you balance that versus police and fire, I think it's very important everyone understand that police and fire are funded out of our operations budget. So that's one side. The street program is funded out of our capital budget, which you vote on routinely. It's always a temporary tax. I would say, given bringing the issue of management up, I would ask everybody in this room, as you're driving to work, driving home over the next 4 weeks leading up to the June 28th election, ask yourself if you think that our street projects are being managed well. Ask yourself if you think they could be managed better. Ask yourself if you think those projects could be done more quickly with closer management and a closer eye to detail. If you do, and I do believe we can do that, I think we can manage the scheduling of those a lot more, a lot better over the next 4 years, and I fully intend to do so. Thank you.
Mayor Bartlett, you're first on this one. What do you believe is the most significant difference you bring to office compared to the other guy?
Better glassware?
Agree to disagree.
Oh, now we're going.
Typical. Without a doubt, it is the experience that I have that I brought to the table, both the experience that I have in owning and operating a business. I've been doing it now for several decades. Understand very, very well the significance of the energy industry, not just oil and gas, but all the different attributes of it, whether it's manufacturing, whether it's alternative energy, all of these facets and the relationships that bring to bear that opportunity when I can go to a very large company or an equity provider and talk the lingo and talk about why Tulsa is a good city to be relocated in because of our, it's 20% or more cheaper to do business here than Houston, Dallas, et cetera. That is a very significant difference. Obviously, I've been mayor now for 6, coming up on 7 years. That in itself is a very, very important distinction. This is not a small-time deal. This is not something that, in my view, we have to give the reins over to a person that has not had that experience. We have 20-plus departments. We have 3,500 employees. We have a lot of varying interests that are every day coming into my office, literally. That experience is very, very important if we're going to continue on and do the great things that we want to be Tulsa to be unique to accomplish.
And Councilor Bynum, your turn.
I think probably the two great differences between us are, first, I don't think that increasing our population by 5,000 people in 16 years is success. And I don't think that getting outperformed in job growth by Oklahoma City by more than 2 to 1 is success. I think we can be doing better. And that leads to my other, I think, differentiator here is in my 8 years on the city council, I have a track record that you can go back and look at of setting high goals, bringing people together, and then working together to accomplish those things, whether it was passing the 2 largest street programs in the history of the city or getting water in the river after we've been talking about it for half a century. I think that's a huge difference. I will tell you exactly what I'm going to do in the next 4 years. My goal in the next 4 years, 3 things. Make us nationally competitive again, make us the best place in Oklahoma to get an education, and modernize the working relationship between the city and the county. All 3 of those are big goals, but they are very specific things that I will tell you I'm going to work toward in the next 4 years, and I want to bring a lot of you together with me to help us accomplish them as a community.
All right, and then Mayor Bartlett, you have your response time, 60 seconds.
Big difference is that we've already accomplished so much of that. When I became mayor, I said I would be the job-gettingest mayor, mission accomplished. I said that we would add to the growth of our city. In fact, in the past 4 years, we've added 8,000 people, population, to the city of Tulsa. When I said that we would enact the very first public safety program with a dedicated tax, without a tax increase, to accomplish hiring additional firefighters, additional police officers, and make our city safer. The #1 core responsibility that I, as mayor, have that we as a government have is a safe city. We've accomplished that. And we've done it with 75% approval rating from you, the citizens of Tulsa, and for that, we are eternally grateful.
We have time for one more question here. Councilor Bynum, you will be first on this one. What tangible efforts do you propose for assimilating Tulsa's immigrant communities?
Now, I will say this is something that has been a key issue of my campaign and a key focus. Because if you look back at our history as a city, what we did when we accomplished great things, we were united. We worked together to make those things happen. And so throughout my campaign, I've spent significant parts of time with our Hispanic community, in particular in East Tulsa. I have a lot of supporters on my campaign that are excited about playing a role in the future of their new hometown who are from the Hispanic community. I spent a lot of time in North Tulsa with our African American community, identifying what their concerns are and how we can build that part of our community back up. But all of this comes back to the notion that we have to be pulling together. We have to identify, let's set aside all this rhetoric from the national level about who we're going to exclude from our country, who we're going to exclude from society, who we're going to focus on and point out that they're different. Let's identify those things that we as Tulsans all agree ought to happen and focus on those. Every Tulsan agrees that this ought to be the best place in the state for kids to get an education. Every Tulsan agrees that our streets ought to be fixed quicker. Every Tulsan agrees that the city and the county should not be fighting, they should be working together to make us a competitive city at a national level. That's what I want to do in the next 4 years. Identify those things where we can work together and focus on those.
Thank you. Mayor Bartlett, how do you propose assimilating Tulsa's immigrant communities?
What we do is do what we've been doing now for the past 6, 7 years. We go out in the community, the entirety of our city, One Tulsa. When I first became mayor, I said this is going to be an administration that approaches this as One Tulsa. We're all in this together, each and every one of us, whether we're visitors or whether we're residents. We're all in this together. Victoria and I started early on in my mayoral career. We went to the churches of Tulsa. We figured out very early on that the churches of this community are a perfect reflection of the entirety of our city. And we've been to 200 of them, many of them numerous times. And we don't just show up and say howdy-do and walk out the door. We participate. And we get to know the congregation. We get to know the community. And it reflects the entirety of our city, whether it's Buddhist, whether it's Baptist. They are all in a common place where they love family, the family unit. We focus on the family unit and making certain that those individuals have an opportunity now through the academy that I've already discussed to where those people, anybody has an opportunity to learn a career, to have a career choice, where when they graduate from high school, they will have an opportunity to get a real job and be able to put down roots and support themselves and a family. Then continue on a college career if that's what they want to do. But that is a good first step.
And Councilor Bynum, you have a 60-second response.
Yeah, I also think it's very important for all of us to recognize that if we had not had the growth in the Hispanic community here in Tulsa in the last 10 years, we would have actually lost population. That's an incredibly important part of our community. And assimilating them, helping them feel welcome as Tulsans, helping them feel like part of our community, not excluded, is crucial. Not just from a human standpoint, but from the growth of our city standpoint as well. And this, again, I keep coming back to, when we talk about education, that's a strategy for helping kids, but it's an economic development strategy. It's also an important strategy for helping our immigrant communities assimilate into our city. And again, that's one of the reasons I think it's got to be a top priority for us as Tulsans to focus on building our education system up, being partners, not trying to micromanage how our schools run when they're just trying to keep their doors open 5 days a week, but to be their partner. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And now we are going to give each candidate 2 minutes to make a closing statement. And as I mentioned at the beginning, there was a coin toss to determine the order of this. Mayor Bartlett, you go first.
Well, first of all, I want to thank all of you for your patience. And it's 1 o'clock and no one's leaving the room yet, so I think that's mission accomplished. So thank you all being here. Thank you for having the interest in your community. I want to be your mayor, continue to be your mayor. I do not see this as a stepping stone. I love this job. It's the best job that I've ever had. And I want to continue to build upon the successes that we have accomplished, whether it's education, whether it's relationship building, whether it's economic development, whether it's the aspects of job creation that we have accomplished, whether it's relationships with the county, whether it's relationships with all the cities around our county that did not exist, the relationships with the tribal nations, that did not exist before I became mayor. Now it does, and it's positive. We see significantly all of the monies and the projects that are being expended throughout our city. That has become and will become a huge attraction for those that do not live in the city of Tulsa but need to experience it. And they will be coming, and they are coming now. And they are here spending money, and they are moving here. That is success. I respectfully ask you for your vote on June 28th. I thank you very much for your attendance. I thank you very much for understanding the significance of how a city prospers, grows, and becomes a continuous big deal. I have many people say, why don't we be like Austin or Chicago or some other city? I don't want to do that. I want to be like Tulsa, Oklahoma. I want to show the uniqueness that we have as Tulsa, Oklahoma. That is a tremendous sales tool, and I thank you very much for the opportunity.
And now, Councilor Bynum.
Well, again, I want to thank the club for hosting this debate today. I want to thank Terry for doing a great job moderating. I also want to thank a lot of you in this room who've been helping me in this walk from the very beginning. People like John O'Connor and Tim Caldwell and Matt Davis who are helping me in this campaign. I really do appreciate it. And I want to leave you with this. I'm self-aware enough to know that when a young guy is running for an office like mayor, it's easy to assume it's a ladder climbing exercise, right? Well, I want you to know this. I come from a family that believes there is no higher elected office that one can serve to make an impact on the daily lives of the people you love than mayor of Tulsa. I don't want to run for any other office. I just want to be your mayor. I also don't think that anyone ought to serve in that office more than 2 terms. I think if you serve more than 2 terms, you start getting defensive of the status quo rather than thinking about how we can do better. And you've heard a bit of that today. So moving ahead to June 28th, it's a nonpartisan election. That means if you're a registered voter, you can vote for any person that's on the ballot. Doesn't matter about your party affiliation or theirs. I'd ask you to go to my website, gtbynum.com. There's a lot more information on there about where I stand on different issues. But most importantly, I'd ask you to think about how we can build Tulsa up in the next 4 years. What can we do, the kinds of things that people did in the last 100 years that will make us nationally competitive again? And I agree with the mayor. I don't want to be Austin. If I wanted to be Austin, I'd live in Austin. I want to be Tulsa, but I want to beat Austin. I want to beat Denver. I want to beat Chicago. And as your mayor, I want to put us in a position to do that. So again, thank you very much. I really do appreciate your time.
Thank you. I want to thank both of our candidates today. You both did a terrific job. Congratulations. Very well done. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. And again, I want to thank all of you for being here. Again, the election is June 28th, and it's a nonpartisan election, so if any candidate gets more than 50%, the election will be over at that point. If they don't, then we'll go on to the general election in November. There were a few family members who were hoping June might be it, so they're hoping we get a big turnout. And once again, thank you for being here, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to be part of this wonderful forum. I appreciate it. Good afternoon.
Terry and Councilor Bynum and Mayor Bartlett, on behalf of our 387 members, I want to say thank you for participating today. And I also want to say this, regardless of your affiliation or who you support in this race, I know you will all agree with me unanimously that we are so grateful and so glad to have these two gentlemen willing and desiring to be our mayor. And we thank you for that very much. There are two books that we will be giving to our partner in education school, Celia Clinton Elementary, and we've asked the two candidates to sign those. Perfect for two mayoral candidates. What do you do with an idea and what do you do with a problem? So be sure each of you signs a note to the kids in those books, and with that, we'll see you next week. We're adjourned.